All right, we are live once again. Game 7 post game about the buckets by About the Fans. Me and Mike are back. Got our guy Matty Ice on with us today. Man, what are give me knee-jerk reactions to this game? Matty?
Knee-jerk reactions. I'll tell you one.
Okay.
The stat of the series for me is Boston won 3 games on Miami's floor. Who would have thunk it?
Wow.
That's incredible.
I wouldn't have.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
This has just been such a weird playoffs, to be honest with you. Like all the blowouts, and then the fact that the Celtics take those 3 games in Miami. It's yeah.
I mean, I don't think Heat fans have enjoyed listening to me talk on this because I don't know about you guys. Even tonight, how in the world did the Heat make this a 4-point game? That's what I kept If you watch any 5-minute clip of this game, you're like, dude, the Celtics are a way better team. I don't even know how it was this close.
That's why they're not going to win against Golden State.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, the reason I think that is because Miami does a really good job of getting guys that gel together. They know their role. They accept it. They're one hell of a coach team.
Yeah.
And they know their role. They participate in the role, and that's it. I don't do anything more, anything less. But we've been talking about this all series. If Bam would have had today's game in games 1 through 6, it would have been over.
Yep.
And they don't have that guy that can give you buckets right now, go get me one other than Jimmy. Jimmy had 35 points.
Yeah.
And Miami didn't play a terrible game. They never led. And Boston, every time they Miami had a run, this is how you know you're a better team.
Yeah.
Miami had a run. Boston said, all right, guys, let's reel it in. Come on, let's go. And that was it. I think they after Boston led by the most they led was 15, 16? 17. Miami got it down to 3.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a series, man. This is really hard one to figure out.
That first half was it was so weird. Like, as someone that doesn't have, I think all 3 of us don't really have a team in this, right? It was just so weird because Miami could have easily been down by significantly more at the half. They were down by 6, right?
Yes.
It honestly should have been 15 or 20, if even that. I think that late game or late in the first half, free throws really kept them in. They got to the line a lot. They forced a few turnovers and some not bad shots, but got in transition a lot more, towards the end of the first half. And that's what, got them back in it. But it was an interesting half. They didn't give up at all. I like the way that Bam played.
Yeah.
But they needed that, in all the other games.
What surprised me, well, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say surprised. If I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked, Jaylen Brown was the leading scorer for Boston. I don't know if it ended up that way.
Let me pull up the box score right now.
I think he was the leading scorer. To me, the X factor was going to be, if anything,
it was Tatum, 26. Smart had 24. Brown had 24.
If Boston is and Jordan and I talked about this a couple games ago, Maddie. If you ever look at starter for starter, that's one hell of a matchup for both. It's going to be a really good finals. I think it's going to go at least minimum 6 games because you look at from top to bottom. Smart's going to have Curry. Jaylen Brown's going to have Tristan Thompson. Draymond's probably going to draw.
You're thinking Jordan Poole is what you're thinking.
Jordan Poole's going to start?
Oh, I sorry. Go ahead. You said Tristan Thompson.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I said Tristan. Sorry. I meant Clay. You're right. Sorry. I meant Clay. Wiggins on Tatum, right? Dre on Horford and Robert Williams on
Looney.
On Looney. That's a hell of a matchup, but Smart's going to have to score in that series. Okay, he scored tonight. Okay, he can go back to those OK State days anytime he wants to. It's just that he has ball handling responsibilities and he's more of a point guard now. But I'm wanting to see how much Devin White, and that was my X factor this game because of how he played last game. That's a big reason why Tatum only had 1 shot in the fourth quarter because he had it going in the fourth quarter last game. Devin White. I'm interested to see how much they play next game, but it was a surprise to me that Jaylen played as well as he did. and Smart. I mean, those three guys, if they got it going, Boston's hard to beat.
Yep. Agreed, man. The last minute and a half of the game by Smart there was kind of amusing to me. Just, man, like
he missed 3 threes consecutively.
Well, dude, and just
was it 3 or 4? It felt like even more, honestly.
Yeah.
And especially like where the shot clock was at with some of them. I was just like, dude, you gotta be a little more heady than that in a game.
There was still like 10 seconds left on some of those.
I mean, that's one of the drawbacks of Marcus Smart, who he is as a person, is he always thinks he's the best player on the floor. And while he is a good player, he was no better than the 5th best player on the floor. And that's being generous. You know, like you don't want Marcus Smart taking that shot with 10 seconds left, you know? So,
what did you guys think about Jimmy's 3? Too early in the shot clock?
Oh,
what did you think about that?
Well, okay, so I honestly, like, you look at it. So Strus was in the corner, right?
Mm-hmm. And look who's guarding him.
Tatum was hugging him in the corner. He was hugging him in the corner. He was not in help side at all. You know, he wanted to prevent that 3 in the corner. Horford was the one that was down in the lane. I'm taking Jimmy going to the bucket every single time. I'm sorry, but like.
Exactly.
I mean, what I know he was shooting the 3 relatively better in the playoffs. I get that, but like, I mean, 2-point game, all the pressure on the Celtics to you know take the lead. I'm taking Jimmy to get the lay-in on that.
Yeah, I thought it was worse when I watched it real time. You know, because they have the sideline view. You know, when they showed like the baseline view from behind. There was like no one else on the Heat. You know, that was a 2-on-3 or a 2-on-4 fast break, and you mentioned Strus was in the corner, totally locked down. So I mean, yeah, if Jimmy wanted to take it to the cup, I'm good with that. But if he didn't take that and he also chose not to drive, then he's waiting for a half-court offense to set up with 15 seconds left. I don't really like that either.
But with that, let's say because he shot it with 11 seconds left.
Yeah.
Spo is a hell of a guy drawing plays up coming out of the timeout. But you're 100% right, because that's one of the reasons Boston wanted to run so much in this game is they didn't want to face Miami's half-court defense. So you're right. That's probably what he was thinking. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah.
At the same time, too, like all of Miami's buckets, like for the most part, like when they went on runs, it was in transition. You know, they weren't doing well against the half court unless Bam was actually finding his own or Jimmy was going to work in the low post. Like, that's just my thought process with it. Like, I get the timing of everything, but at the same time, you need 2 points. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
you want to know what's crazy, guys? How many? I think it was 7 games. Hot starts. Like. Look, and Jordan and I talked about it. Like, that's probably why you don't want – like, any team that went on a run in this series was a team that was going to win that game because the opposition's defense is so good. If you go on a run, that's pretty much it. Boston got off to a hot start, and that was probably all she wrote because Miami never led this game. So that's probably what was it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any more thoughts from the game? Because there's 2 more topics that I want to broach during this show. I want to finish up talking about reactions from this game. I want to talk about what's next for this Miami Heat team, and then I want to go a little bit into the Celtics Warriors finals. So any thoughts before we move on? I want to spend all the time that we can on this game, but just let you guys know I want to get to 2 other things.
Well, we got to talk about the Max Strus, the called off 3, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, that was not out of bounds at all. His heel was over the line. He wasn't.
Oh, they called out of bounds on that?
Yeah, they called out of bounds on that, and it didn't count.
They should have reviewed it. Yeah, he definitely wasn't out of bounds. Yeah.
If they counted it, if it was counted, like obviously that changes the game. But like it was a 2-point game. Like I get like situations change. It's fluid. You can't just say the Heat would win. But like that's a big thing, and to go back and say, without looking at it again, like
I agree.
I mean,
I agree. That's not to say
it's not like it was blatantly obvious, No,
you're right. And it's funny. I was talking about it because I was on Zoom watching the game, it reminded me of Sean Elliott's Memorial Day miracle against the Warriors, against the Blazers back in what was it, 1999? I don't know if you guys remember when he hit that shot, but in the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, that I can't believe it wasn't reviewed. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But to answer your question, Jordan, Tatum's 10 rebounds stuck out to me a lot. He had an underrated double-double. He was rebounding his ass off today.
Yeah.
And some key defensive rebounds too, not allowing Miami to get another chance.
How about Al Horford? Rob Williams looked like he was hurt. I'm assuming he was hurt. He only played 14 minutes in this game. Didn't even look good. Didn't look his normal self. So I'm going to call him hurt. But how about Al Horford with the 14 rebounds? Wow. And, he had a few blocks at the rim as well.
Yeah.
So, Horford isn't always thought of as a rim protector, but, man, he really filled that role nicely tonight.
Yeah. I think in his younger days, he was looked at more as that, when he was still with the Hawks. But, yeah, no, he's still a good, serviceable rim protector. Yeah. What was the one thing I was going to say, though? I completely forgot. I'm sorry.
I hate when that happens.
I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I wanted to mention, you talking about rebounding. I wanted to say Bam, man. Honestly, on the offensive glass, he had 4 offensive rebounds, but, the things that don't show up on the stat sheet, tipping it out, I think he had from just what I counted, 3 or 4 tip outs to, get a second chance opportunity.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Jimmy Butler, man. Honestly, I know we're referencing the 35, but I don't know if you guys remember when he dove out of bounds and threw the ball off of Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
After playing 40 minutes in a row, that's playing the whole game in the NBA playoffs, let alone an NBA game. People don't realize that's the statistic we should be talking about. And he was still playing on both sides of the floor. So
that's something he did all the time as a Bull when he was a member of the Bulls. So I'm used to
Tom
it.
Thibodeau.
Exactly. Well, yes.
That's Tom Thibodeau.
He's going to wear you out. But, he did it over and over and over again. So I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised because he was hurt, whatever. Yeah. But he's definitely capable of that. I'm actually surprised that Spo didn't have other guys playing as many minutes because they could have. I think Oladipo could have gave a 44-minute game, 46-minute game. I think he could have done that. He has the freshest legs of everybody on that team.
Yeah. So, he's just the thing with him, rhythm-wise, he's so iffy on offense right now.
Yeah.
You can tell, he's normally that mid-range of his, very similar to Jimmy, he hits that, but he's just been today, especially just inconsistent with it. You can tell it wasn't a comfortable thing for him. Sorry, Jordan, I think I cut you off.
No, you're totally fine. I was just gonna make a joke. Nobody shortens careers like Tom Thibodeau, playing those 48-minute games. But so one thing I noticed was, I was talking to my brother-in-law. We, got together to celebrate my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday, Miss Nelson.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday.
I'll pass it on. That's nice of you guys. But, this series was really a story of how many times can Jimmy Butler go nuclear in a series.
Yeah.
And so it was the Jimmy Butler show plus one game of the Heat win, and he just what an incredible playoffs. I don't think you can really say enough of what he did this postseason. Outside of Luka, did he really do more for his team than anyone else? I'm not sure there was another player that did as much for their team besides Luka and Jimmy Butler. But yeah, where do you guys think the Heat go from here? What happens this offseason for the Heat?
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, can I set the plate a little bit? Sorry to cut you off.
Sure.
So
you're good.
So here's my thoughts. Okay, I think that the easy option is to run it back, right? You have Kyle Lowry under contract. You have Jimmy and Bam coming back. Max Strus is coming back. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. Pretty much everyone's under contract. The problem is you have glaring holes, right? The inability to score next to Butler was a recurring theme this postseason. The Heat really lack trade chips. If you look at it, Tyler Hero, is really the only positive asset that they have. I would actually consider Max Strus a great asset, but he only makes like $1 million. So he's, if anything, he's a sweetener in a deal. But he's also the guy that you want to bring back anyways, you know. So Tyler Hero is essentially their only trade asset. Attaching Duncan Robinson might have done something last year. That doesn't do anything this year.
He didn't even play tonight.
And
right?
he's a terrible contract. Yeah, he didn't play. Yeah. He was out of the rotation, and he's owed $70 million over the next 4 years. So, like, I don't want to hear anything about, like, this Hero and Duncan package. You know, it's 80% of Heat Twitter tweets are talking about what they can get for Hero and Duncan. Duncan is a negative asset. Tyler Hero is your only piece. What can you do with that?
I think you're more limited now than you were a few months ago, right? Or like almost a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was talking. I remember seeing on Twitter. I mean, right now it's all about Donovan Mitchell, right? Jordan can attest to that. Who was the Bradley Beal trade? I don't know how you make that happen. You'd have to move Lowry, right? Because he has like 27 million, but I don't know how I see that working out.
Yeah.
There'd have to be a lot of picks involved and other things as well. And
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. That makes a little more sense. You just typically in a sign and trade, you can get more value, right?
Yeah.
Like because Washington, you know, if Beal tells Washington no thanks, then that immediately makes the price go way down in a trade. I mean, we saw that Jimmy Butler going from Philly to Miami, right? It didn't cost the Heat much at all. And that was because Jimmy Butler just told Philly, like, you know, or they had just come to an agreement. He wasn't going back there. So there was no reason not to facilitate a sign and trade, right? So, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I'm just saying there's different levels. Like getting Donovan Mitchell from the Jazz will be a much higher price
than
getting
absolutely.
a guy like Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal, only because it's a sign and trade situation as opposed to a guy under contract.
If I'm the Heat, though, I would probably want to target Bradley Beal over anyone else. I think that he's the perfect fit. I like the fact that he can play make and create his own offense. Zach LaVine, I'm not sure about fitting in this system. You know, the Heat system is just completely different from any other team in the NBA.
Yep.
Besides from that, man, I just don't know. Yep. I don't know in terms of role players, like who you can add to this squad. I think that, I mean, what are you going to do with Duncan Robinson now? Yeah, like, is he just going to be on the bench now? I think it depends, you know, how the season goes. But then, like, you gotta make moves before then, right?
Yeah.
Before next season. But I don't know. How do you feel, Mike?
I mean, look, Riley. How many times have people said that's not going to happen, and he ends up what the hell? Like, how did he do that? So I would not be surprised. Look, he's going to listen to. You're doing yourself and your team a disservice if you don't keep your ears open and listen to whatever's out there. He's going to do that. He's a smart guy. He's been around the block. But I'm not excluding the idea of there being a third team involved because that makes everything a lot easier. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to contracts. You guys are 100% right about that Duncan Robinson, you know, whatever. But, guys, we've seen crazier things. We've seen Pau Gasol go to your Lakers, Matt, for nothing. And it ended up getting a championship for them. All right? So – I mean, I don't know. What I will say is this. The Heat are good because they're deep.
Yep.
Right? They're probably one of the deep – no, they are one of the deepest teams in the league. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you – just because you're deep and Max, Jordan, you know what I'm going to say. Just because you're deep doesn't mean that all of your bases are covered, okay? Yeah. They're deep because they're wings and they come at you in waves. Depot, Robinson, Strus, Dedmon is a serviceable backup, and I love Gabe Vincent. You know what I mean? But they lack size and they lack that legit Robin to Jimmy. So you know what I mean? So how you get there, I have no idea. You guys are better at that than I am, but they need to figure out scrap getting deep because you're still gonna have a damn good bench if you put all of your chips in for that second guy.
Well. Did you see enough from Victor Oladipo? If the Heat don't have the moves to make, you know, they can't really get the value they want out of Hero. and they're realizing that Duncan Robinson can't really be moved without an asset attached to it. And then so they're just like, you know what? We're going to run this whole squad back, and we're banking on a healthy Victor Oladipo that can give us 35 minutes a night.
I am not giving up on Victor Oladipo. Why? Because this was his first season back. He came back mid-season. And number 3, he's playing like a fish out of water because he's not used to coming off the bench. He's used to being a starter. He's used to getting a certain type of minutes. Yes, in this system, everybody that comes to this system is going to have to learn how to play together as a team, know your role and accept it. If not, you're out. I think he could do that, but I think you're doing yourself as a team a disservice if you don't give him 30-plus minutes because he's one of those guys that he's an energizer battery. He's going to keep going. He's a hell of a defender, and we've seen him at his best. I think his health is there. I just think he needs reps to get back. I personally am not giving up on Depot.
Yeah, I think it's way too soon to tell. I mean, he was out for off and on 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
And you reference Klay Thompson, right? He's still talking about the fact that he's still getting his defensive game back, and he's already played a full season this season.
Yeah.
I think it's too soon to tell.
Right.
I love Victor Oladipo, honestly. I think he's one of the best, when he's healthy, one of the best two-way players in the league. And I think he's a great fit next to Jimmy. I think they need another guy that can create their own offense, though.
Yeah.
More of a perimeter, 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Just because of where the league is at now. And I think that, the reason why we're seeing all of these blowouts in the playoffs as well is this is where the league is going in terms of teams are taking 3-point shots at an all-time high. All it takes is one off night and you get blown out by 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this next topic. I feel like it's one of the elephants in the room. Heat fans aren't really going to want to hear it. Let's talk about the temperament of Jimmy Butler this offseason. He had the blow up on the sideline. Some reporters saying it was a big deal. A lot of reporters, especially Heat reporters, saying it wasn't a big deal. But then, you have the history of Jimmy Butler not dealing well with teammates like Andrew Wiggins, Karl Towns, Ben Simmons, when it comes to disappearing in big moments. And this series was really rough for the Tyler Heroes and Bam Adebayos of the world. Do you think the Heat will encounter any issues with Jimmy Butler this offseason?
Go ahead, Matt.
Not at all. I don't think so at all. I think this is a different situation. It's a different culture. Honestly, you've seen problems with those teams and some of those players currently that he was, formerly a part of.
Yep.
I think that those are just 2 one-off situations. I don't think so at all. Being a part of a winning team, you see guys get into it. I don't see that as a negative sign. I think reporters like to paint it as a negative sign. Yeah. But it's never like that. You know what I mean? Kobe used to be yelling at his teammates all the time when, in those championship teams. And obviously Kobe's a different breed. But I think Jimmy is very similar in that way. I don't see it as a problem whatsoever.
I completely agree with everything that you said. Number one, the Heat, they win games. And what do we know about winning? It cures all. All right. Yes, they didn't win it all, but they were in the top 4 for crying out loud. They made it to a game. They were a game away from advancing to the finals.
Yeah, I do just want to say, hopefully, if they have good management, you have to be self-aware. The Heat were the 3rd best team in the East this year. I think that's very apparent. If the Bucks had a healthy Chris Middleton, it probably would be Milwaukee going to Golden State. I would hope for the sake of Heat fans that when they're being honest with themselves, that we were very firmly the 3rd best team in the East this year. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
That's not no problem. That's not unfair to say.
Yeah.
It's not unfair to say. I mean, I know people don't like to hear it, but Heat fans are leaning on it right now. Oh, if we were healthy, whatever. Well, if Milwaukee was healthy, it probably would have been a different outcome.
Everyone has injuries in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%, and that's a fact as well. But I don't think Jimmy's going to be an issue. He loves Miami. All right, he fits very well with this team. He is exactly what they need. And I don't think he has to go, with pitchforks and all that stuff up to Pat Riley, because Pat Riley knows what this team needs. He doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't have to say anything.
Yeah, I guess I'm just going to keep my eye on it a little bit. I have a hunch that, I just don't see Jimmy Butler being very happy with the way that Bam played. It's inexplicable. We all knew that Bam could do better. Jimmy's been one of the biggest supporters of Bam throughout his career. And I feel like this was just a huge stage to just completely poop your pants and leave Jimmy high and dry, needing to carry the entire load.
But you want to know what's going to happen if and when they have that conversation? None of us is ever going to hear about it. It's going to be between Jimmy and Bam, because that's how Jimmy handles things. It's not going to be – he's not going to take it to a press conference. I'd be surprised if he did. And those issues that he had in the past with former teammates, there was one common denominator: youth.
Yep.
They weren't ready for what Jimmy was ready for at the time. Jimmy was ready to win. You know, he had however many seasons in Chicago. You go to Minnesota, I want to win now. You know, Thibodeau's coaching there. I know what he wants. You guys need to follow my lead. Same thing with Philly. He had an issue with who? Ben Simmons, a younger guy, not Embiid.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, any chance that the Heat go young this offseason? They look at the roster and they're like, well, we have Hero, we have Bam, 2 guys under 25 years old.
You mean like blow it up, or
yeah?
What do you mean?
No, I don't think they're going to blow it up.
I don't think so.
I mean, they're a young team now.
Well, I mean, I feel like most of their
besides Lowry
players are over 30. You know, I mean, they kind of rode Butler, Tucker, Lowry. You know, late on this playoff run. You know, when Bam and Hero weren't doing much.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of pieces. Yeah.
It was.
I mean, Lowry. I mean, how? Like, what would they do to get rid of like Lowry? He's 35. He has like 3 or 4 years left on that contract.
Yeah. And he's not even the best player on his team.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to find a very specific, team. You know, I'm thinking you'd have to find a team like the Clippers where you could just be like, you know, we'll give you need a playmaking point guard. We'll give you Lowry. You give us Marcus Morris and another contract to fill that space, and then just give us a pick as well. You know, like a second round pick. Like they'd have to find a deal like that to unload Kyle Lowry, where it's another team that is trying to win now, will take on awful contracts, and needs a playmaker to run the offense. Clippers fit that exact bill. You know, who knows? We'll see what the Celtics are thinking next season at the point guard spot. I'm not overly convinced that they run Marcus Smart back full-time next year.
I started laughing because I was thinking of a trade in my head.
Yeah.
What would you think of Kyle Lowry to the Lakers?
For what?
You know, for who?
Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Man, I'm a Russ fan, and I just think he got a raw deal. You know, he's not surrounded by what he needs, shooters. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm a fan. This is the first bad season we've seen of Russ, and he still led the Lakers in assists and rebounds.
Well, you know, here's my thing. I've been a Russ truther. Well, I don't know if that's the right word. I think Russ is terrible. I've been, well, for a star player, right? That's relative. He's clearly in the top half of best NBA players. I think he's way overrated. I have for half a decade.
Why? Why do you think he's overrated?
I don't think his basketball contributes to winning games. Like, I don't think he's a winning basketball player. I think he's an incredibly talented, able basketball player, but I don't think he's a great decision maker. I think he's selfish. And
he's not a great decision maker. This is why he should not play point guard.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is he can't shoot to save his life, too. So you take him off the ball, and it's kind of like
role I actually really liked him in? Back when he was on the Rockets with James Harden, and they would put him in the low post. And like, I remember they played the Lakers one time and Caruso was guarding him and he was just banging him down low on the low post, and they had like 45 that night.
Wow.
So you can find a way, to get him involved. It's just, playing next to LeBron and,
he's the third option on that team. He's not used to that.
So I actually think he would be better on the Heat than on the Lakers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because the Lakers have LeBron and Anthony Davis, who both need the ball in their hand. And Russ is unequivocally the third best player on that team. Like, there is when LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy, there is no comparison of their ability level to Russell Westbrook at this point in his career. But on a team like the Heat, where Jimmy often plays a little more passive, a little more unselfish during the regular season, and I'm talking his 21 points per game average because we all know he's better than that. But, that's just his style. Like, it might work better on the Heat. So,
I agree with
that. Possible Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson to the Lakers for Russell Westbrook.
That's a lot of bad contracts, but the Lakers are in that.
They're all bad contracts.
Yeah, I mean the Lakers are in that point of their roster where it's like you kind of have to start taking on bad contracts to get
don't have
any
many
more
options.
talent because they have no assets.
Yeah.
The only thing that they can offer teams is like, we will fix your mistake. And it might marginally make our team better, but that's all we can offer you is cleaning up your mistake.
I just don't see, if I'm Washington, Miami doesn't have anything that I want.
Agreed.
If I'm being honest, Miami doesn't have anything that I want if I'm Washington. I'm not giving up Beal for spare parts. I'm sorry.
Talking, as a Jazz fan, I am so happy to trade Donovan Mitchell this offseason because I think that's what's best for the Jazz long term.
And I'm
but
happy
Donovan
to trade
Mitchell's the best player on the team because he averages the most points.
That's the only possible number you can find that would suggest that Donovan's the best player is points per game.
And I'm happy to trade Zach LaVine.
Yeah. But, as Mike said, the Heat don't have anything that I want.
Yeah.
Like Tyler Hero, I mean, he's good and he's young, but it's
They're
like
not going to trade him.
Yeah, and he's not even better than Jordan Clarkson. Like, I already have Tyler Hero +1 on the Jazz right now. So I don't want Hero. I certainly don't want Duncan Robinson. So, like, the Heat can't offer anything for Donovan Mitchell. And I agree with you guys. After what Eastern Conference Finals run, there's virtually 0% chance they blow it up. I would love to see Jimmy throw a fit because then the Donovan Mitchell for Jimmy Butler, trade stuff like that, I would be very happy with that.
Jimmy Butler would not last a minute. No disrespect.
Yeah.
He's not going to like it in Utah. He would not last a minute there.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in Minnesota, whatever, okay. Yeah. But then you were from Chicago. Look at all big cities, Chicago, Philly, Miami.
Yeah.
Oof. I don't know.
Yep. So, I mean, I agree, but yeah. So this is kind of my roundabout way of saying the Heat are kind of strapped for options. Pat Riley is great. So if there is a team out there that is in a weird spot, that is like the Lakers or the Clippers saying,
He'll
hey,
find him.
I will give you some spare parts for Kyle Lowry.
He'll find him.
Yeah, like Pat Riley's one of the top 2 dudes in the league that you want in that spot, right? So if there's a deal available, I'm sure the Heat will find it. But they're in a precarious situation, man. I'll say it again. Duncan Robinson is a negative asset. 4 years, $70 million for a guy that's not in your playoff rotation.
I mean, let's think about it this way. Let's say worst case scenario, they run it back. The Heat, like you said, they're a top 3 team in the East.
Yeah. Injuries, I mean, all it takes is one injury to a Jason Tatum or a Giannis. And
let's be honest. Let's be honest. If both teams were healthy in this series, I mean, look, it went 7 games, but if both teams were 100% healthy, you can't tell me that Miami has a really good chance to win this series. They almost won it tonight. You know what I mean?
would tell you that, though, and it's because of Rob Williams. Like, Bam – Rob Williams has a way of capturing Bam's soul.
He does.
Like, it's so bizarre to me, Like, Bam is so immensely talented. But, I mean, if Rob Williams is playing 35 minutes a night this series, like, he averaged, 24.
Yeah. Look, Hero missed 2 games.
Yep.
Kyle Lowry missed, 2 games.
PJ Tucker left 2 games.
Yeah.
Jimmy was hurt for at least a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he pulled a 47-pointer out of his you-know-what. But
you could tell, though, game 4 and 5, he was definitely
for sure
struggling because he could not put pressure on that right knee, at all on the jump shot. Whenever he would do that little spin move to the right side, and it was not – there's no weight going on that thing.
Right. So that's the bright side if you're Miami. Like, okay, we bring it all back. Like, we know that we're at worst a second round playoff exit at worst. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but I'm just being honest.
No, I mean, you're right. We talked about how funky this series was, and it really just comes down to Bam, dude. Because, on paper, these two rosters are, like, incredibly even. Yeah. But by game 3, you were just kind of able to pencil Bam in for 11 points and 7 rebounds. And it's like, dude, you can't. Like, Bam's been an all-star before.
Right.
If you're having to pencil a guy in for an 11 and 7, like, there's not really much you can do to overcome that as a team.
And can I just say something too? Like, when you're at this point of the playoffs, you're in the conference finals, you know what you get from your first guy. You should know what you're getting from your second, maybe even third guy. Yeah. But you're wondering what you're getting from your you're wondering who that second guy is going to be.
And that's
this deep in the playoffs, it should not be the case at all.
That's exactly why. Like, I've been saying it. And I was a Bulls fan at first because I hated the Joakim Noah draft pick until he balled the hell out, because at that point, the Bulls were getting deeper and not better. Yep. So I know what I'm talking about. Like, you don't like all these signings that Heat have done. Yeah, they're great. Oladipo, all this stuff, but you're getting deeper. Where's the height to help out Bam? And I'm not talking about Dedmon, okay? And not that he's a bad player, but nobody worries about Dedmon. You know what I mean? They needed more height on that roster. Tucker, he's a 4 only because he can't do anything else offensively. That's why he's a 4, because he's a 3 body type. He's a 3 body type.
Yeah.
But he plays 4 because he can't do anything offensively. He can guard 3-4 positions, but Miami needs to do whatever they can to get some pieces off that bench to get that second guy. We just had a whole 15 minutes about probably not going to happen because whatever contracts, but that's the cure to that team. That's the cure to that team. And I'll die on this hill. Give me Gabe Vincent over Kyle Lowry. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I don't see the big deal about Kyle Lowry. I just don't. Second team on his career, and I can't remember what the backup point guard was when he was with Houston. But it's the second time in his career that he's the second best point guard on his team, Matt.
Wasn't it Aaron Brooks?
That's what I was going to say. It was Aaron Brooks, right?
It was Brooks. And Brooks was a badass. Oh, there you go.
Dude, Aaron Brooks was a baller, dude.
Baller.
Yeah.
Okay,
the old Rick Adelman team.
Fleet. Yep. But this is at least Brooks. You could argue that, but definitely Van Fleet was a better point guard. And give me Vincent over Lowry, especially now.
Like Van Vliet, whatever happens in his career, he can go down saying that he got a vote for NBA Finals MVP. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know who didn't get a vote? Kyle Lowry.
And he started on that team.
Yeah.
It's just one of those guys that I look at when you're watching the NBA, and I say, I could beat him one-on-one. I swear I could beat Kyle Lowry one-on-one. I promise you I can. But
after you sent me that Kevin Hart video today, I kind of
Matt, have you seen that video?
Did you see what I said in response?
That's right.
Don't disrespect Kevin Hart. He's an MVP. He's an all-star, celebrity all-star game MVP 3 times. Come on.
Yeah, you did see it. My bad.
Fun random stat. Tyler Hero, I know he missed a couple games, shot under 7% from 3.
Nice.
What?
For the playoffs or this series?
No. The Eastern so against Boston series.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know what it was overall in the playoffs, but 7%, because I think he only took 1 3 tonight. He played limited minutes.
Right.
And he was 1 for 14 before that. So I'm just guessing that it was 1 for 15.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I have 6 or 7 minutes before my wife kills me. It's her birthday.
Okay.
So let's just briefly discuss Celtics Warriors. Go ahead.
I got a question for you guys.
Yep.
Do you think that the Warriors ultimately play Rob Williams out of this series?
I think they have that ability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think they have the ability to make the Celtics choose between Al Horford or Rob Williams.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Horford. Meaning they played Rob Williams out, because when Poole comes in the game, it's Poole, Curry, Clay, Dre, and Wiggins.
Yeah.
That's a hell of oof.
Yeah, and granted, I actually the reason why I'm so intrigued, my gut and my head is telling me Warriors, but there's something that is just like, but Grant Williams, like he's the perfect sixth man. No, and I'm serious because when they bring in Jordan Poole, like the Celtics are the one team that have a dude like we have another 6'9" guy to throw at you.
Yeah.
You know, like and granted, I still think the Warriors will prevail, but I'm so intrigued to see the offense versus defense matchup of Curry, Poole, Thompson, Wiggins, Dre versus Smart, Brown, Tatum, Grant Williams, or Derek White even. Like, you know, if you decide that you want to go small and bump your tall guys down further, then you can throw Derek White at a Jordan Poole. You know, let's just say you realize, you know, Jaylen Brown isn't quick enough to stay in front of Jordan Poole. Then slide him down a spot and throw Derek White in. I'm so intrigued to see how that goes. The Celtics have just been really smart in having bench guys that can go both ways. Very lengthy, pesky defenders that are not a negative on offense. Like it's so hard to find that in the NBA right now on the bench.
Can I just say though too, like, I mean, because Kyle Lowry. So I've watched very limited other games in this series. I just want to clarify that. Some highlights of other games. Kyle Lowry was guarding what's his name? Oh my god, I'm blinking out right now.
Jaylen Brown,
Tatum, like a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
You look at who the Warriors are going to be putting on Tatum and Brown. It's like you got an array of guys.
Yeah.
You got Klay Thompson, who I know he feels like he took a step back defensively, but he's still a good defender. You got Otto Porter even like off the bench. I didn't even mention Andrew Wiggins starting, and I completely forgot about him. I don't know, man. I think that the recipe is there. If you're able to stop even just one, Tatum or Brown,
it could get ugly. It could get ugly.
Honestly.
Before you even started talking, while Jordan was talking, I said in my head, Jaylen Brown cannot have a bad game.
Yeah.
He can't have a bad game in the series. He can't score 9 points, or he can't score 20 points and shoot the ball. He's not going to shoot the ball 30 times, but he can't do that because of all the guys that Boston has. He's the one that is like the streaky guy. You know what I mean? When he's hot, and when he's bad, he's bad. But he cannot afford to have a bad game because I got Golden State in 6, but this can be Golden State in 5.
For sure. I think, this series, Mike, you and I talked about this time and time again. We said the Heat have paper thin margin of error, like razor thin. The Heat have no margin of error. They can't make mistakes, and win this series.
Right.
Going into this next series, that's the Celtics.
Yeah.
The Warriors have been there. They have an experienced coach. They have a trio of all-stars that have been there before. They have Jordan Poole, who should have won Sixth Man of the Year, in my opinion. Most Improved Player of the Year.
And the intangible, they got the chip on their shoulder. The 3-time, 4-time, however many they've won, they have the chip on their shoulder because they're disrespected, Matt. Yes, they're disrespected. They feel disrespected because this dynasty was over. Remember?
Yeah.
People were saying it was over. And Draymond reminded us after that Game 6 loss to Toronto, he's like, you guys think we're finished? What? They just needed health. That's all they needed is health.
And I didn't even think about that. I mean, half of Lakers Nation has gone back to being Warriors fans for the next 2 weeks. So I'm sure they'll be back,
I think, and I think that there's a difference between, obviously there's some Laker fans that, don't really know basketball that well, just like any other fan base.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the play style of the Warriors, and people try to emulate it, but it never compares.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what Andrew Wiggins has done in his role, and I mean, it's amazing to watch, and I'm excited to watch his finals, honestly, and I'm glad to see them back. If it couldn't be my Lakers, I mean,
who's better at that spot, Harrison Barnes or Andrew Wiggins?
That's a good question.
I was thinking about that earlier, and the knee-jerk reaction for me is Wiggins.
It's recency bias though too, because you're
It is.
I feel like Wiggins can get hotter than Barnes can, though. Like Wiggins is a dude that I feel like has more top end ability for scoring. Now,
Absolutely.
granted, he's typically not very efficient when he does that, but it's not overly easy to go out there and get 25 points in an NBA game.
I would say Harrison's probably the better defender too, especially when he was
Yes.
on the Warriors. Like
Yeah.
I would lean him defensively. But yeah, I mean, I think that Wiggins has made strides though, being on the Warriors.
Yeah.
But
All right. Any last thoughts? I got to go before I'm sleeping outside tonight.
No, again, the stat of the series for me is Boston winning 3 games on Miami's home floor. That's just crazy to me.
Yep.
I think the only thing I'm going to say about the Celtics Warriors series coming up, I think that Tatum and Brown both have to get 20 every single game if they want to win.
They have
Efficiently too. Efficiently.
Yes,
Yeah.
good point. Good point.
Honestly.
How many games? I'm going to go over and under 2.5. How many games does Marcus Smart just totally close the book for the Celtics by taking ridiculous shot selection?
1.
I said a 2.5. I might even take the over. I could just see Marcus Smart.
I'll say 2.
Now, I respect the way that Marcus Smart plays because he is gritty. He is like he's like Dennis Rodman, miniature Dennis Rodman, or but man, there is something like he just gets a look in his eye when it's like him in the NBA Finals. I'm worried that he might see some of those Curry almost from the logo threes and just be like, I can do that.
He better not. He better not if he wants to stay on that floor because Udoka does not play. He will sit his ass.
I know, dude. Smart, man. He's a good player for sure, but dude, he is irrationally confident.
I mean, he wouldn't be the player he is if he wasn't, though. Too, I think
you are so right.
Yeah,
it's a double-edged sword.
Udoka, Nick Nurse, Tyronn Lue, Steve Kerr, David Blatt, first-year coaches in the NBA Finals in the last 25 seasons. Wow.
Oh, David Blatt is a legend.
Yeah, there's a kid. I'm a David Blatt stan. I think if LeBron didn't ruin his NBA career, I think he would have been a good coach here. But I saw something on Jazz Twitter. There's a guy that does a lot of stats stuff like that. So he looked into it, because we have our own head coaching conundrum this offseason. And there's actually a correlation between head coaches having success in their first 4 years. Like head coaches typically reach the finals or win championships in their first 4 to 5 years at a stop, and they don't do it later in their stop. Like it is a rarity. If you have a head coach that's getting to the finals in his 7th, 8th, 9th year with a team, that's actually incredibly rare.
Rick Carlisle.
Yeah.
How long was he with Dallas before he got to the finals for the first time? Because he wasn't their head coach in 06. Their head coach was Avery Johnson.
Frank Vogel.
Vogel what? Vogel
The Lakers.
Oh, but he was
what year?
Yeah.
I mean, so he was at the Pacers for like 6 years probably, and then the Magic he was there like 2 or 3. Then there's some off years.
I'm saying with a team.
Oh, with one team. Got it.
Yep. So it's in their. So it's in the first 4 years at a job is when they will reach the finals or win. Whereas 6, 7, 8, 9 years into that job, they aren't reaching the finals. And you could make all these arguments. Is it, chemistry? Is it their message holding up and being durable? Or is it guys just getting to the point where they're just like, I
don't think that's a fair stat because management and coaches, they're not always on the same page. And if you get a coach that is thrown into a bad roster, like that's not fair. You know what I mean? Like I don't like that stat.
So to answer your question, Mike, Rick Carlisle would have been in year 3 with Dallas.
Wow. So he made the finals in 2011. That was his 3rd year. I thought he was there forever. Okay.
No, he was with the Pacers from 2003 to 2007, and then joined the Mavericks in the 2008 season.
Wow. Okay.
I'm trying to think of one-off coaches now that have been like with a team for a while that made the finals like once or something, but I can't think of any.
Yeah, I mean, they exist, but they're much more of a rarity. Like it is typical for guys to reach the finals in their first 5 years with a team. I mean, Jerry Sloan did it in like year 10, year 12 with the Jazz, but
What about how long was Van Gundy with the Magic when he made it to the finals?
Not long.
Oh, wasn't? Damn.
Not long. What about Jeff? What about Jeff with the Knicks? No, he wasn't there long, I don't think either. Or was he? Because Riley left for Miami in 95, and the Knicks made it in 99.
So Stan would have been there for 2 years. I'm going to look up Jeff.
Damn.
Jeff was like 4 or 5 years in because Riley left in 95 or 96 to Miami.
With the Knicks, he would have been a year 3, man. Like we were hitting all these, man. It's always year 3, year 4.
What about Larry Brown with the Pistons? How long was he with the Pistons?
Not 8 years, I don't think.
No, because he was with the Sixers in 2001.
Sixers. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was the Sixers head coach in 2001. Let me check this out.
How long was he with the Sixers before he hit the finals?
I don't know. This is crazy though that we're finding this. This is awesome. So let's see. He was with the 76ers from 97, so year 4, and then year 2 with the Pistons. Year 4 with the 76ers, year 2 with the Pistons.
Larry Brown's got that long
It's
career,
crazy
man.
to think about, dude. It's crazy to think about, but all these coaches, I mean, there are the exceptions of the guys that just make it all the time. Pop makes it all the time. Steve Kerr making it all the time. Phil Jackson. But I mean, how long was Doc Rivers with the Celtics?
It wasn't that long either. I think it was 3 or 4.
Wow.
Because didn't they bring him in right before the trade for it was like a year before they got like KG and Ray Allen?
What year did they win? 2008?
08, yeah.
So it would have been year 4.
Jeez.
Damn.
Right on the cusp.
I'm going to think of someone, and I'm going to message you. Or I'm
I
just going to post it on
wonder
Twitter.
how long Phil was with Chicago before he got to the finals, because they got to the finals in 91.
It wasn't that.
Like in 88, I think. 88, 89. So
yeah, it would have been like year 3 because, because he was Jordan's second coach.
Right, and what's his name? Doug Collins was the coach with Chicago before Phil.
That's when he was young, man.
Yeah, no, So I'm not telling you they don't exist, Maddie, but I am interested to hear when you figure out who. But they do exist. There's just not a lot of them because Jerry Sloan is definitely one. Yeah. I think he took over in 87.
The Sonics coach when they played the Bulls in 96.
Pretty sure it was George Karl, wasn't it?
Yes. How long was he with Chicago? Was he with Seattle?
Let's find
Dude,
out.
Jordan's gonna get in trouble, man.
Yeah, he is. Sorry, man.
It's all right. So let's see. He was with Seattle Supersonics in what year?
96. They made the finals.
90. So that would have been year 4.
I give up.
Isn't this crazy? It's a crazy stat to think about. But like, I think it's just locker rooms needing a change of pace.
Hell, Spoelstra.
Let's look at Spo. When he made it the first time,
it was in 06. No. Riley coached that team.
No, yeah, Spo would have been the the big 3. Spo was the big 3
in 2011.
So, they made
it in year 5.
No, it would have been year 3. He was 2008.
Never mind. I give up.
I mean, Jordan, I'm going to be up till 3 a.m. researching this.
So they do exist, but they don't exist very often. And like I said, the obvious exception for guys that go repeatedly, So like Spo making it in 2020, I don't count that because he already had 4 finals.
No. I'm kind of the first one.
Yeah. So it doesn't happen often. Trying to think of who's been. Nick Nurse was year 1.
Jordan, go. It's okay.
Okay.
This is irrelevant.
We're good. My wife's typically chill. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you go to aboutthefans.com. I forgot to mention, as you can see in the bottom corner, use promo ATB for 10% off anything you see there. We got Fours Up stuff. We got About the Fan stuff. Check out Mike's shirt over there. And
Star Wars.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks for chilling with us this postseason. Not sure what shape this show will take this offseason.
I say we keep doing it for the finals, man. Ask AB.
Yeah. No, we'll be back. I'm just saying. We're going to go, we're going to huddle up. We're going to talk this over. We're going to decide what About the Buckets will look like going forward. But this isn't the last that you will see of us, perhaps even all three of us. So, yeah. So we will talk to you guys later. Thank you for chilling with us, and take care.
You guys have a good night, man.